this is Annette and I'm coming to you live from my beautiful home in Buderim, Queensland, and welcome to Thursdays Live with Annette at 2 o'clock. So glad to be back live because last week I was in Hong Kong and I had to pre-record. So where possible, I really do want to go live because it's so much better. I look forward to chatting to you every week. And thank you so much for joining me. It's just fantastic, the responses I've been getting. And I'm loving the feedback. I just want to give you a couple of comments. But before we get into that, can I just preempt right now? And if you could go and get yourself a pen and some paper. Because today I want you to write a couple of things down. And you might want to write down my top 10 tips that I'm going to be giving you shortly. So I'm just going to wait a few minutes while you go grab a pen and some paper, and then we'll get started on the show. So I might just have a drink of water while I'm waiting for you because we should all stay hydrated, shouldn't we? Alrighty. While we're waiting, I might just give you a couple of feedbacks that I got from last week because I love your comments, so please, keep that up. Now, Lauren didn't realise you could freeze my muffins because last week I was in the kitchen making my blueberry banana muffins from book 2 and we had so much fun in the kitchen. I love it. And we will be cooking next week as well. I cannot wait to tell you the fabulous recipe I've chosen for next week because it is apparently was voted the #1 most fabulous recipe on Facebook from you guys. So I'll tell you more about that later. So Lauren is very happy now that she can freeze her muffins. Now the gorgeous Lynn loves all the little tips I give and looks forward to Thursdays now. And I love that because I do too. Cheryl Marie knows now how to do my baking better. She was an overbeater and she's admitted to it. So now she knows you do not overbeat my baking. And Judy asked if I could show the apple sauce that I used on last week's recipe. So here it is, Judy. That's it. It's a Heinz baby apple, I think it's really. I think of it as baby apple, and it's the apple and it's a puree. So you get that in most supermarkets. Alrighty. Okay, so let's do the winners from last week though, because we need a drum roll, please. The winners from last week's show, from book 2 they won, is Merlene O'Donoghue, Cheryl Kitchen, and Erica Stewart. And it happens to be Erica's birthday today. So I'm so happy that I was able to give you a birthday present today. And I hope you're having a fun day, Erica. So now, what we've got to do today is we're going to talk about a really important subject. So I've got a question for you first. And this is why I wanted you to get your pen and paper going so that you could write this down. Now, I don't want you to think too hard about the question. I'm going to say the question. I want you to just write it down. Okay? So, who is most important to you in your life? I repeat it. Who is most important? Who is most important to you in your life? I want you to pick 5 people and I want you to write them down now. I don't want you to think too hard. The names will come to you and I just want you to write it down. I'll give you a few minutes, a few seconds to write it. Who is most important to you in your life? Just 5. If you can only do 3, then that's okay, but 5 would be good. Okay, so my question to you is, where are you on that list? Are you on the list? I've done this recently to a group of fabulous women and a few of them commented that they weren't even on there. So if you're not on there, this is the perfect show for you because we're talking about prioritising yourself and making you #1. If you are #1 on your list, well, fantastic. I'm really happy that you've done that. Or are you #3 or #4? But from this exercise, I want you to realise of when you think about who is important, that will tell you who you think is. And I've got to tell you, one of the things I learned first off when I started to be the healthy Annette and really looking after myself was that I had to be number one. And I think for a lot of us girls, we tend to think that that's, we can't be number one. We're making ourselves too important, or we're being selfish if we prioritise ourselves as number one. And I really look at it not as being selfish, but actually self-care. So change that word selfish to self-care right now. Write it down. And this is why I want you to have your pen and paper, because you're going to get a few little diamonds here today, and I want you to, have them at home and polish them up and use them. So write down selfish, cross it out, and now write self-care. Well done. It's interesting, when you start thinking about you, because a lot of time we don't. We're thinking about everybody but ourselves. So if you're thinking about the habits that are causing you to do what you do in life, this is one of them. And I'm actually talking about habits this week in the afternoon feeds on Facebook. So you might find some interesting tips there as well. And I think it's really important to realise that maybe we've got into a little bit of a habit, a little bit of a rut sort of thing of just not thinking about ourselves. And I have to say that I am totally understanding if you're going, yeah, Ned, I don't have a lot of time for me. If you've got young children, you're working in a job, you've got lots of things going on. I know, been there, done it. I had 3 daughters, and I know how busy and consuming looking after the family can be. And as well, if you have an elderly parent, they can take a bit of your time up as well. So how then do we make us number one? So this is what today's show's about. So I'm really, really excited about sharing these tips with you. And as we go along, please take notes, because I want you to be able to go back over this and reflect, and then maybe do a bit of soul searching, go within and see, well, yeah, how important am I? Well, yes, you are important, absolutely. Now, with women, and I know that most people watching the show are women, so you guys, you're in it as well, because I know how busy men are. They're trying to, keep the mortgage going and doing everything they can. But for women, we tend to hold many hats, like, wife, mother, businesswoman, daughter, sister. You can be a taxi driver, a cook, a doctor, a teacher. Like, there's so many things that we have to do in our role as being a parent. And so sometimes it's very hard to get any time for yourself. So how can we change that? So straight up, one of the things I learnt was thinking about, well, what is it that I have to do and what can I delegate? That was really the word delegate. Write that down in big letters, because I really think it's important. And I think that we don't think about ourselves too much because we're so busy looking after everybody else. And maybe we've kind of, especially in my age group, were taught to actually be the homebody and to look after everybody. Whereas the younger generation now, the girl power, it's getting better. I know that some of the young girls now will say to their husbands, well, you can cook too. Whereas my generation and older, it really was kind of the woman's domain to be in the kitchen. So the question I want to say to you now is, how are you? Yeah, how are you? If I said that to you and I met you in the street, how are you? What would you say? You go, I'm fine. Because kind of that's the expected response, isn't it? And I question though, are you really fine? Are you okay? Because I'll give you an example of Monday. I'd flown in very early on a Hong Kong, and I going? What's happening? I'm sorry. Please excuse me. I just thought something happened there. Someone phoned us. Are you still there, guys? Hello, can someone just do a response? Let me know you're there. Oh, fantastic. All right, okay. So, now, where was I? I've lost track. Okay. I flew on the midnight flight home from Hong Kong, and I got in very early and didn't sleep much on the plane. You know what it's like in the cheap seats. And by about midday, I started getting a headache. Now, I don't get headaches. Very rarely do I get headaches. And I thought, oh gosh, I'm just not firing. I'm feeling a bit unwell. And so I decided that at 1 o'clock, I said, I'm sorry guys, you're not going to get any work out of me today. I need to look after myself. And so I went up and had a little nana nap. And I realised also that I was probably a bit dehydrated from the flight, so I started drinking a lot of water. And by dinner time, I was fantastic again. But you know what? I looked after myself. I needed to do that for me and what was right for me. So this is what I'm trying to get at. How can you look after yourself and not feel that you're stopping other things or stopping people from doing things, that you're looking after yourself, and it's so important. So I've got my 10 tips for you. So I want to share them with you. Now the first one is prioritising your health. Now that's got to be number one, because if you are not well and you can't get your head off the pillow to go to work or take the kids to school or do whatever it is you do, then everyone suffers in the house. So you've got to look at how healthy you are. And so for me, eating the right food is really important because that will give you energy and vitality. So please prioritise, number one, for you to be fabulous is your health. So think about it. Now I've got some notes here and I'm going to check them so I don't miss anything. But one of the things that I think with your health as well is, when was the last time you actually had a checkup? You know, at the doctor's, or have you been to a naturopath recently to find out how you're going? Now the thing is, if your kid was not well, you wouldn't hesitate to take them to the doctor, whatever. But are you pushing your needs to the side because you are too busy? So I really think that maybe it's important that you take some time and visit a doctor, have a checkup, see everything's going right, because if there's nothing wrong, well then great. But you know, like one of the things that I found with my naturopath that I go to is that I can sometimes be low in magnesium and iron sort of thing. So this is a way of just checking and knowing that you are, you know, pumping out on the best way you can and you've got your energy going. And I think, you know, put this, as I'm going to repeat it again, number one is your health. Now the second one is give up feeling guilty. Yes, don't be the victim, be the victor. When you're feeling guilty, it means that you're shutting yourself down. And it's a negative energy that you certainly don't need. Now, you are important and you have to acknowledge that. Because when you feel important in yourself, and this is not a vanity thing, it's like, oh, I'm important, you know, look out, here I come. It's like, no, I need to make sure I'm okay. I'm important, as anyone is in this world. I am important. And if you're number one, that means you're prioritising yourself and it's important. Now, you know, you wouldn't think twice about buying a pair of pyjamas if your kid needs them. But how old are your pyjamas? You know, like it feels good sometimes to, you know, make sure that you have what you need as well. And it's not just about the family. And that's about you as well. Now, plan in me time. Yes, that's right, me. It's about you having that time just for whatever you want to do. Like, I love crocheting. So often of a night, I'll sit there with my little crochet book and I just go into another planet. I'm just crocheting away and just the world just disappears and I love it. You know, I love my Kindle, for example. I'm reading a great book at the moment and I just can't wait to have time just for me so I can read my book. Is this selfish? No, it's called, what is it? Self-care. That's right. And, you know, we just feel like that we're not worthy sometimes. And if you have that type of thinking, then please stop it, because you are worth it. Absolutely. Absolutely worth it. Now, prioritising exercise. Now, this is really important because I find in myself, when I'm not exercising, I get a bit more tired, a little bit lethargic. And when I exercise, it lifts me up a little bit. I get those, you know, you get that adrenal thing happening. but I also feel very happy with myself because it's one of my values. And I know after all these years of being in the weight loss industry, how important exercise is in your life. And that is prioritizing exercise. So please get the time to make sure you get out there. If you've got to get out, a bit earlier, out of bed to do it, then make it, if it's important for you, make the time. Now, are you getting enough downtime? And this is important, where you just relax, take yourself down and be in stillness. Take anything out of the ears, you don't want to be listening to music, anything like that. Just be quiet. How often are we in where there's no noise around us and everything's quiet? I know in our house that doesn't happen very often, I'm sure in yours too. But the other way that you can still your mind is by doing yoga. It's fantastic. My youngest daughter is a Virgo and her brain never stops. But when she's doing yoga, she said it's the only time I feel like my brain just stops. So, yoga or meditation, they're both there just to help you and breathe. Sometimes we're shallow breathers when we're anxious and stressed, but when we're relaxed, a deeper breath down in here is way more good for you than these shallow breaths. That's not good for your health and well-being. Don't strive to be perfect. I mean, do you know anybody that is? I certainly don't, and I'm not. If, for example, you think, well, the expectations, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. Who's making those expectations? You're probably your own worst enemy. Like, for example, if the beds don't get made today, who cares? If you buy a frozen meal because you're running late, who cares? Be kind to yourself and make sure you're okay, because there's nothing worse than feeling like you're not good enough or not doing enough. Now, the next one is, making healthy choices. That's really important. Like, think about whether, how much coffee you're drinking, how much water you're having, what healthy foods, are you taking any supplements to help you with energy? Because I know myself, I feel it's important to have a few extra vitamins in my day, even though I eat really healthy. Get enough rest. Oh my gosh, if I don't get 8 hours, or at least 7, I'm not a happy girl. You don't want to be around me the next day. I'll be whinging and I just won't perform as well. So if you're looking at how can you be the best you can be for yourself, then sleep. Get enough sleep and make sure that, you don't put that as not a priority for yourself. Like, if you need to go to bed earlier, then so what? Go to bed early. It doesn't matter. It's important that you get at least 8 hours sleep, they say, and that way then it also helps you feel much more energized the next day. Share the load. I've got 3 daughters, and when we used to do the cleaning, or when they were at home, we all did it. I mean, they live in the house. I'm not doing it all. I'm no one's slave. See, because I actually learnt very early on to prioritise myself. And so they would help clean. They're living in the house, why not? And I didn't pay them to do it either, because I felt, hello, they're getting free board and lodgings, that'll do them. And I think it's really important, to ask people to help where you can, because we can't be the front of everything. Otherwise, you're just going to go overwhelmed. Now, this last one is stop saying yes. Enough's enough. You can't say yes to everybody. And what I do, if sometimes I get invited to things or asked if I'll do something and I'm not sure, I just hesitate for a little bit. Instead of just jumping and saying, sure, I can do that, I go, look, can I get back to you? I need to check my diary, or I need to talk to Bill, or whatever. And then I can go away for a few moments and actually think about whether is this the right thing for me? And sometimes I've said no, and I'm really, got to tell you, I'm glad I did. I'm a yes person, but I'm very comfortable in saying, look, this is not going to be the right time for me to do that. So stand up for yourself. So they're my 10 tips. Now, this week's giveaway, I'm excited about what I've got for you this week. Let me show you. I've got this fantastic book. There you go. And it's from the most beautiful lady who has been at some of my presentations and spoke on stage with me, Simone Leslie. She's just fantastic, and she's a neurolinguist. Is that right, Diane? Neurostrategist. Neurostrategist. I knew I'd get it wrong. Neurostrategist. So she herself struggled with self-worth and, prioritising herself. and she has done a lot of work on herself to be able to write this book and be where she is today. So I think you'll really enjoy this book because I've got 3 of them to give away this week. Yes, how perfect for this topic, prioritising yourself. And this book is called It's Okay to Be Beautiful. Because you are beautiful, you know that? Absolutely. So what do you have to do to win it? It's easy. Just like the comment, the video, is that what we'd call it? Like it, then share, and then once you've done that, in the feed, in the comments below, write done. And that way then I will pick 3 gorgeous winners for next week, and I'm excited for you to get that. Now if you want to see anything more about, find out more about Simone, just go to www.simoneleslie.com. So she's got some fantastic stuff on hers. Now, next week I'm back in the kitchen. I'm going to be cooking, I'm very excited, beef tortilla stack. It's from book 3, and it was voted when we asked on Facebook, what was your favourite, your one favourite recipe out of all my 7 books? It won. So I'm excited to cook that for you. It's going to be great. I hope you've enjoyed this week's show and given you a bit of food for thought, because if you weren't on that number 5 list, then you need to start thinking a bit more about yourself, honey, because you're worth it. Absolutely worth it. And so if you'd like any more recipes or tips, go to simplytoogood.com.au, and Instagram is Simply Too Good as well. I'm so excited that you joined me here today. Thank you for being here, and I hope you got some useful tips from today. See you next week.